their lead with little pressure from Portland or Utah. Indiana flexed their muscles with that win over New York, so the Knicks resume their dogfight with bitter rivals, the Miami Heat, for second place. There's a fascinating battle for fourth and fifth place between Philadelphia and Toronto. Word up, Snoop. Coming up on this week's show. Home sweet home. Can Indiana find the answer to Philadelphia's Allen Iverson? Forget the lottery. Michael Olowokandi has the NBA's most important numbers. Bigger, badder, better. Steve Nash breaks down some NBA extremes. Carter versus Garnett, Toronto versus Minnesota. Hey, you can measure this one on the Richter scale.
Welcome to Babe Ruth Sports Bar in London. There are just under 3 weeks left in the regular season for teams to secure the best playoff position that they can. So, taking the Eastern Conference as our example, 8 teams will qualify for the playoffs, and they're seeded 1 to 8. The 2 division winners take first and second spot. Then it's the 6 teams with the next best records. In the first round, the first seed plays the 8, 2 plays 7, 3 plays 6, and 4 plays 5. The top 4 teams also have home court advantage in the best of 5 game series. So a good position and a kind draw can really help you get through the first round. In our first game today, top seeds Indiana face tough opposition in 4th seeds Philadelphia, who are also on a very timely 5-game winning streak, behind the talents of a certain Mr. Iverson.
Vince Carter, Shaquille O'Neal, names you've heard all season, but lost in the NBA 2K shuffle is Allen Iverson, a prolific player who has led the league in scoring for most of the season.
Nice little sidestep by the little guy.
But how does he do it? Only 6 feet tall, he relies on lightning-quick reflexes, incredible leaping ability, and pure determination.
Here's Iverson again, picked up by Outlaw on the switch. Outlaw looked like a pretzel by the time Iverson had finished with him.
He twists players up nightly by using his best move, a deadly crossover.
Allen Iverson crosses over Sir into the lane, off the glass, and good. Oh my! Iverson shook him but good, and they are oohing and ahhing here. Oh, brother!
It's just about mastering the movement, just getting it down packed to where, you know, you can do it in your sleep.
He gave Armstrong a good look at that killer crossover.
The only knock on Iverson has been his attitude, which caused his team to suspend him for a game recently. Iverson got the message and since then has led his team to a 5-game winning streak going into their battle against Indiana.
Allen show again, behind the back, through the legs, puts it up, finish!
I got a lot of pride, you know, on the basketball court. That's why I never take anyone lightly. But little they know that I play every game like it's my last game. I kind of want to separate myself from the rest. I want to be remembered as one of the best.
The Pacers have dominated on their home court this season, racking up 25 consecutive wins until last week. Iverson's recently broken toe added to the uphill task ahead of Philadelphia, playing in blue.
And Reggie Miller beating the post again. Spits off the double team.
Using their size advantage on the inside, the Pacers jumped out to a 7-0 lead, but Philly had an answer as they used the quickness and agility of their scoring machine to answer back.
What a runner in the lane.
How about Allen Iverson? Earlier this year, missed 10 games with that fractured right thumb. A headache stopped him, but a broken toe obviously has not.
Well, this is one of the toughest guys that the NBA has. Come up with a big steal, Theo Rattler for the poke away.
And Iverson! Blew the layup. Kukoc on the follow. Here's Hill. Good look from Kukoc. So the Sixers have come back with 6 unanswered after the Pacers opened up with a 7-0 lead.
Larry Bird very concerned about transition defense, particularly with his big guys. Rick Smith and Austin Crozier have to get back and match up.
And here's Crozier.
Iverson is so tough. All those injuries, broken toe, rotator cuff, broken thumb. How can you stop him?
Ratliff and the 76ers with 8 unanswered.
Now that Philly had the lead, they fought hard to keep it.
That's Kukoc from downtown taking the high hop and tipped home. Tyrone Hill.
Tempo and pace has been for Philadelphia.
Ratliff with a strong move, so the Sixers lead by 7.
Larry Bird cannot believe the disastrous performance here for the Pacers.
And this is coming off a bad ball game against Milwaukee here on Thursday. The Bucks had lost 6 straight on the road. Tony Kukoc situation where his team has gotten off to a bad first quarter start.
And it went from bad to worse for Indiana.
Here's Geiger. Geiger on the follow. And they get the new 24.
Nice pass.
Beautifully done. Geiger blocked. Geiger again. It's hit by Kukoc. And they are just killing the Pacers on the offensive glass. And you can hear the reaction from the crowd. And the Sixers hold for a final shot of the quarter. Kukoc kicks it out to Snow. Eric Snow knocks it down. Well, all Philadelphia after one here at Conseco. Iverson able to handle it. Best deflected it.
The groans from the crowd. Iverson continues to feed the dismay here in Indianapolis.
In the second quarter, it was more of the same as Philadelphia continued to pour it on, led by the newest member of the team.
Nice move by Tony Kukoc.
The former Chicago Bull was acquired by Philly to help Iverson with the scoring load.
On Kukoc going at Smits. Kukoc with a brilliant first half.
And Reggie Miller was, well, not so brilliant. He couldn't find the bottom of the basket for most of the half, so Philadelphia took advantage as Iverson continued Philly's all-out assault.
Iverson able to beat Smits off the dribble. It's a 17-point Philadelphia lead.
Indiana pride themselves on defense, but Philly scored 62 first-half points.
A brutal first half for the home team. The Pacers down by 17.
In the second half, Coach Larry Bird wanted his Pacers to play more aggressive and attack the basket, but Philly were having none of that as Theo Ratliff stopped all comers.
Crozier coming up short. Crozier blocked by Ratliff again. 4 rejections for Theo Ratliff. Crozier. Ratliff looked like he got a piece of that one as Crozier keeps going right at him.
At some point, you have to realize that this guy, Ratliff, is going to block your shot.
A wise team, Indiana stayed outside, but nothing was working.
Reggie Miller having a very long afternoon, and he's not alone. 1 for 7 from the field. Iverson with the pullback move to set it up.
What can you do defensively against that? Virtually nothing.
Iverson, it counts, and the foul. Miller strip. Here's Iverson, chased by Jackson. It counts, and the foul.
As Iverson racked up the points, his new tag teammate Tony Kukoc was working on a triple-double, which means double figures in 3 categories. He ended up with 19 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists as Philadelphia were continuing to destroy Indiana.
Nice pass.
And Tyrone Hill able to cash in. Miller got the step and came up short.
3 guys for Philadelphia converged on Reggie, made him double clutch, causing the miss. Nice pass again.
Iverson for 3. Allen Iverson breaking out in the third quarter. Allen Iverson, 26 points.
A few empty seats start to materialize here in Conseco as people are starting to think, hey, I've seen enough of this.
Here's the alley-oop, but Matt Geiger is able to score, so the Sixers lead at 97-73. Crozier with the save, but McKee on the intercept. Here's Snow feeding off. Allen Iverson with 30 points. Crozier trying to post up. Ball knocked away from Rose. Here's Iverson moving on best. Going right at him. It counts, and the foul.
The beaten Pacers could do nothing to stop Iverson from scoring 33. Indiana did score some points late on, but
this final score not indicative of what took place here because Philadelphia has blown out Indiana.
So Philadelphia finally break a 12-game losing streak against Indiana and get their 6th consecutive win. Now, rumour has it, Michael Olowokandi has a number of things on his mind this week.
Welcome to beautiful and sunny LA. This week, the numbers 24, 10, and 3. These aren't numbers on a shirt or numbers of a football play, but probably the most important numbers you need to know in the game of basketball. Ever noticed the clock above the backboard? That's called a 24-second clock. Once you've got the ball, it starts to count down. And if you take more than 24 seconds to take a shot,
24-second violation.
guess what? You lose the ball. Once your team gets the ball, you've got 10 seconds to get over the halfway line. Run out of time, or straight back into your own half, and
It is a 10-second violation.
guess what? You lose the ball. And see that painted rectangle around the basket? Don't even think of taking a break at that. You've got 3 seconds to get in and out.
3-second violation. Curacao just couldn't get out in time.
If you don't make it, come on now, say it with me. You lose the ball. And finally, for one last number, 3, 4, 7, and 5. Any ideas, anyone? That's my birthday.
Happy birthday, Mike. The card's in the post. Well, Michael will be 25 on Monday, but do you know the average age of an NBA player? Well, we know a man who does. Super sleuth Steve Nash is coming up after the break. Plus, we have a stellar clash between Carter and Garnett as Toronto visit Minnesota.
Flat-out play. Which means when Dale Ellis began his career in 1983, the only dribbling that a 2-year-old Jonathan Bender was doing was on his mom's shoulder. You want extremes? Check out the tail of the tape of the biggest and the smallest players in the NBA. At 141 pounds, Toronto's Muggsy Bogues is less than half the weight of the heaviest in the NBA. Shaquille O'Neal of the Los Angeles Lakers is one of the heaviest at well over 300 pounds.
The big jump.
And the most perfect player in the league? Me, the Candyman, maybe not the Candyman. I'll let you decide.
Two serious contenders for the most perfect player feature in our next game. Half man, half amazing Vince Carter and the big ticket Kevin Garnett. In the East, Carter's Toronto are on a collision course with Philadelphia for the first round of the playoffs. So every win is vital as they battle it out for that fourth spot and all-important home court advantage. Over in the West, meanwhile, Minnesota are in sixth position, but they're going to be hoping to improve upon that as they chase San Antonio and Phoenix.
In Minnesota, the question on everyone's mind was how do you stop Vince Carter? Toronto in blue entered the game with a 3-game losing streak during which Carter was held dunkless. So Minnesota's Kevin Garnett knew what to do, but first he got busy on the attack.
Garnett on maybe the best 3-game tear of his career in terms of points, and an easy 2 for Kevin Garnett. Brandon. Christie hounding him. Good defense from Christie. Garnett blows past Oakley. Nice adjustment in the air. Beautiful move from Kevin Garnett.
With Minnesota up early, Toronto needed to pick up their defensive intensity.
Oakley with the steal. Struggling a little bit with the dribble. That slows down the fast break. Alley-oop to McGrady. Well, it's not going to win anything on style, points, or beauty, but terrific steal by Charles Oakley, and you called that a dribble. And then a perfect alley-oop pass.
Not to be outdone, Minnesota had their own alley-oop connection. They maintained a 10-point lead late in the first half, meaning Vince Carter knew he had to get creative and get back to his dunking ways.
Carter with a follow.
Big first step by Vince Carter to get in there for the initial shot in his first dunk in some 3.5 games. And it was nice.
But at the half, Carter's Raptors trailed 44-36. In the second half, Toronto coach Butch Carter wanted more intensity from his players, but the big ticket Kevin Garnett kept punching home baskets as Minnesota regained a 10-point lead. But the Raptors made a comeback led by their star attraction.
Deflected by Carter. Good anticipation. Terrific defensive play in the open floor by Carter to stop that break. Alley-oop. McGrady to Carter. Boy, he strikes quickly. He gets in the air. Carter inside. Nice move from Vince Carter. And a lead sliced to 3.
As the third quarter wound down, Minnesota had a 5-point lead and looked to add to it.
Kicks it out to Peeler. Peeler's going to have to put it up. The three-pointer barely hits the rim. Oakley fires ahead to Davis. No one back as Antonio Davis releases. And once again, the lead is cut to 3.
In the fourth quarter, as the intensity picked up, tempers began to flare. First, Charles Oakley with the hard foul against Minnesota. And then it was payback time as beat-up Vince Carter got the worst of this deal. When they got back to playing basketball, Kevin Garnett continued to roll.
Garnett makes his move. Couple of fakes, short shot, and gets the roll. The soft touch from the big man.
KG helped put Minnesota up 87-81 with a minute left in the game.
Certainly still plenty of life and enough time for the Raptors. Brandon blocked by Brown. McGrady the rebound. Under a minute remaining. Tracy McGrady. And a foul. Chance for a three-point play from McGrady. And the lead cut to 4 with 51.8 remaining. McGrady hits the free throw. Toronto 16 of 17 from the line in the fourth quarter. And it's a three-point game.
Certainly don't need a foul here, only down 3, but you might think about fouling Joe Smith if he's in and around the basket the way that he short-armed his last free throw attempt.
Carter is guarding Garnett. Trying to front him. Brandon trying desperately to get him the ball, but he can't. 5 on the shot clock. Joe Smith has to put up the shot. Off the mark, rebound, Christie. Vince Carter's denial on Kevin Garnett. Terrific on that sequence. There's about a 2-second differential between shot and game clock. Carter makes his move. Crowd wanted to travel. Davis goes inside, and a blocking foul, and count it! Antonio Davis could tie it with a free throw as Szczerbiak called for the foul. Big free throw from Antonio Davis. Davis calmly cans it, and it's a tie game with 12.9 remaining.
But the T-Wolves still had a chance to win the game.
Brandon off a Smith screen. Final second. Shot clock turned off. Brandon puts it up. Off the mark. Rebound. Knocked out of bounds. And it's going to be Toronto ball with 2 seconds remaining.
So now it was Toronto's turn.
Smith jumping high, making it difficult to get it in. Finding D. Brown. Brown, an open 3. Off the mark. And we go to overtime. And they'll put 5 extra minutes on the clock.
In overtime, every possession is important, and Toronto got the first crack at breaking the tie.
Vince Carter in and out. Joe Smith, the rebound.
On Minnesota's first possession, they got the ball into the hands of their all-star.
They're looking for Garnett. Garnett gets it deep in the post, puts it up, shot blocked. They're going to call a goaltend.
Defenders are not allowed to block a shot that is either coming off the backboard or is on its way down. If they do, it's called goaltending. This meant 2 points for Minnesota and the early lead.
Carter trying to post up Sealy. Carter, quick jumper, puts it up. That's good. Rattles home for Vince Carter. And he now has 31. As we said earlier, I got the impression it wasn't one of his better games, yet he's got 31 points, many from the line. Garnett gets Davis up in the air, draws the foul, and Kevin Garnett back to the free throw line.
KG sank both of his free throws to put Minnesota up 91-89. On the next possession, Carter was fouled and also sent to the line for 2, but he only hit 1, and Toronto still trailed by a single point. So the T-Wolves look to expand their lead.
Garnett wanted it. Sealy couldn't get it to him. Joe Smith, left-handed. Beautiful move from Joe Smith.
Nice execution by the T-Wolves. Able to get inside the taller Joe Smith against McGrady, who is an outstanding shot blocker, but it's usually coming over from the weak side to block other people's shot, not necessarily his own man.
12 points, 8 rebounds for Smith. Carter steps back. Off the mark. Garnett rips it down. Brandon ahead to Peeler. Alley-oop to Sealy. Right back to Garnett. He lays it in. And a lead up to 5.
Toronto needed to score, but Minnesota's defense clamped down, and the Raptors could not even get the ball into the hands of Vince Carter.
McGrady, Brandon shuts him off, knocks it away. Terrell Brandon, another big play. 2-on-1 break. Sealy up to Garnett. And Minnesota, a comfortable 7-point lead. The T-Wolves have excelled in close games.
A big part of winning the close games is hitting your free throws, which Minnesota did down the stretch in overtime, which meant Vince Carter could dunk all he wanted to because the Minnesota lead was too big, and there was not enough time for Toronto to make another comeback.
Minnesota has won their 6th in a row, as Toronto has now dropped a season-high 4 in a row.
Amazingly, that was Minnesota's 3rd overtime game this week. If they keep that up, they're going to be exhausted come playoff time. No win in Minnesota, but good news for Carter this week. He's been selected for the US Olympic team. And you know what? That sounds like a cue for Ross and the rest of this week's news.
It takes blood, sweat and tears to reach the playoffs, and Orlando's John Amici provided his share when he collected a sharp elbow from Alonzo Mourning. 8 stitches later, Amici's scoring was back online for Orlando.
What a good, strong comeback by John Amici, somebody who played last season for the Sheffield Sharks in the British Basketball Association. Not supposed to be able to make a spin move like that.
The Magic went on to burn Miami in that game, holding the Heat to the lowest second-half tally in NBA history, a miserly 19 points. On a roll now, Orlando went on to dismiss playoff rivals Boston for their 5th consecutive win.
The Orlando Magic protect their playoff spot.
I don't think anybody really wants to play the Orlando Magic in the first round of the playoffs because they have nothing to gain by beating us. People would just say they're supposed to. And yet we're a dangerous team. And the people in the league, they know that. They know that we can play because we've beaten nearly every good team that there is out there.
And no one wants to face Toronto. They're on a streak. Unfortunately, it's 4 losses in a row. And in Cleveland, they trailed as the game clock ran down. Surely a cue for another invincible aerial display from Carter.
Crowd at 20,562 on their feet. 6 seconds left. He's done it so many times before. 2 seconds left. Vince Carter, Oakley for the win. He's got it at the buzzer. The triple from Charles Oakley, not Vince Carter, rattled and dropped at the buzzer. Instant win, Toronto Raptors.
And from that stunner to this shocker from Shaq, he ties the game against Sacramento with a layup and earns a free throw. But why are the Kings so worried? Everyone knows Shaq's useless at free throws.
Well, Shaq is 3 for 7 at the line in this game. 6.5 on the clock. How do you like that?
Yes, the big clunker drains it for the win, a sign the Lakers really are serious. In the West, reigning champion San Antonio overtake Phoenix to take 4th spot. Remember, 4th and above get home court advantage. Only Seattle have to clinch their ticket to the postseason, but that could be short-lived as they'll face the Lakers in the first round. In the East, Orlando's 5 wins puts pressure on Detroit for 7th place. Toronto's 5 losses in 6 games could prove costly as Charlotte close in on 5th. And at the top, Indiana look far from invincible these days.
So the playoffs start on April the 22nd and carry on until the NBA Finals in June. But before all of that, we've got some scintillating basketball action over on ITV2. On Tuesday, in-form Philadelphia are facing Utah. And then on Thursday, it's the Detroit Pistons at the Toronto Raptors. So I will see you next week.